Okay, we're live. That's good. Thought I'd jump actually about a minute early, aren't I? Get my hair straightened out here a little bit. See if I can get a few people in here. It's a warmer day today. I mean, cooler day today, not warmer. I'm glad I have some heated seats and heated steering wheel because it definitely is getting cooler out there right quick. I think it was 39. I know that's for all you guys in Michigan and Canada and all these other places. That's not very cold, but that's chilly for the Carolinas. The Carolinas don't get that cold. So, hey Zach, how are you? You're the first one to sign on there. I mean, I think I got some others in here, but you're the first one that made mention of anything. How are you this morning, Zach? Hey, Greg. Hello, Mr. Clark. How are you? Yeah. I'm trying to get started and stay warm here. Excuse me. I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat this morning. The air's changed a little bit, and I guess the temperature changed and the moisture in the air and a few other things like that got my throat a little more raw. Hey, Jim C. Glad to see you here this morning. Yeah, I'm just getting things organized here so I can get started this morning. It's been a pretty good week for me. Hey, Patrick, how are you? Hey, Joey. How cool was it up there in New York State, Joey? Hey, Ralph. I hadn't seen you in a while. Yeah, glad to see you on here, Ralph. Are you doing well now? It's cold, is it? Yeah, it was chilly. We had frost on the windshield and had to warm up the car a little bit. Thank goodness. Now, I know all you guys from up north are going to think I'm crazy, but I love my heated steering wheel and my heated seats. Yeah, I'm trying to get better. I'm walking more each day. I walked a little more than about a mile and a tenth yesterday at a good pace, and trying to get the exercise that I need to be able to get my volume back in my voice and that those sort of things. So it's taken. Oh yeah, I wish I had remote. They don't put the remote start on the diesels for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, I love heated seats. I've got heated seats on just about practically everything I've got. And the ones that I don't have it on, I jump in it and it's cold or something. And I go, ooh, what's wrong here? Wow. I'm sorry about to hear that. Well, hey, EVT. Yeah. Are y'all still running pretty hard, EVT? I know they've laid off so many in the airline industry. I hope you're running strong and still doing maintenance and everything. Yeah, COVID's jumping back. I think a lot of it is getting processed. Regular flu is getting mixed in there because I was looking at a stat the other day and it was talking about how low that flu is now. It's really, really low. And I think it's getting combined. But I mean, that's because there's more monetary incentives. That's probably one reason. Yeah, COVID is not good. I had a friend that died of it this week. He had a lot of problems. He was, extremely overweight and he was diabetic and he had some other issues. Going to go hunt, are you? Oh, wow. Deer hunting, I suppose, down there in Georgia. They're all over the place. As a matter of fact, I've already killed one deer this year myself. Well, at least one of my trucks did. We had to replace a bumper on one of my Cascadias. He was coming out. He was in Georgia too. He was down there on 16 between Macon and Savannah, and hit a deer and wiped out a deer and wiped out my bumper, those sort of things. So it's something. Yeah, I've in like I've said once before, I probably have killed more deer than most deer hunters. Just the problem is there's not much left when I hit them. Yeah, it's a whole different world out there when you see when you see them hit by a truck. They're splattered. Yeah. Well, I've only hit a couple of bucks myself. Now, I've had a couple of other drivers that hit some bucks, but I had one that tore up a radiator. I mean, that's the problem. These big bucks, and they're a lot stronger. Hi, Brian. Yeah, these bucks are pretty. Yeah, I run aluminum rims on most of them. I don't know what the guys are using. They just clean them and polish them. We got some aluminum bright and some other stuff. We don't polish them per se as much. I mean, our trucks run so hard that we don't have them in there long enough to shine them up and make them look real pretty, you might say. I mean, they're clean, and we got them, normal looks, but they're not polished. I mean, some people go to the extreme. I used to have a driver that would take his home, and I'd let him take it home, and he would polish his tanks, his rims, everything. I mean, he had it immaculate. But I don't go into that with a fleet of trucks. I'm looking at the maintenance and looking to make sure that everything's essentially in good shape. You get once you get a fleet, you don't worry about details like that. I mean, I don't, and I really don't have the time. So, polishing rims is just not our thing. Eh. Well, I'm not planning on buying any. I'm actually trying to sell some. I'm trying to. I had so many that I took offline this past year. I took about 20 something trucks offline, and that's the thing I've been doing is trying to sell them. Yeah, yeah. I'm not into that polishing out. You get. No, I don't have any trucks with disc brakes. I imagine if I get some 2020s or 2021s or whatever like that, I may get some with disc brakes. Everything we've got is drum brakes right now. Uh, we're more concentrating on getting the electronic equipment that the collision avoidance equipment. That's what they're big on. So we've had to spend our money on that kind of technology as opposed to getting any of the other stuff. I mean, the disc brakes would be nice, and some other stuff. Hey, Ag Tech. Yeah, yeah, I like shiny objects too. When you can afford to. My problem is we just can't afford to put the effort and time into polishing. I mean, if I had somebody I could get at a minimum wage or something to get out there and do it, it's just not. Chrome never makes you any money. I mean, most people that are in fleets or whatever will tell you that. And if you look at fleet trucks, most of them don't have the chrome on them either. It's because of the fact that it's just not it's not a situation where you make money with it. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, no doubt. Chrome looks good. Aluminum looks good. And, I like to be able to do that when I can. But as it stands, once you start looking at your bottom line and you start looking at how much time and effort and money you spend on some of the polishing and a few things, you'll back off of it. I mean, when you got like me, I've got 40, 50 trucks, and it's hard to think about trying to polish and all those and taking that much time away from other things that you need to be doing. Well, I don't need the chicks. That's one. So I'm not. Yeah, yeah. When you're selling that, and I sold some trucks, and I cleaned them up and had some aluminum rims on them and made them look good, and they do help sell. There's no doubt about that. But as far as productivity, as far as going down the road and everything else, no, they don't. So yeah, I'm like everybody else. I like to make it look as good as I can, but realistically, you can't make money with chrome. Yeah. Well, it's nice, and we have those fanatics all over here too. I have a good friend that I actually bought him out when he was ready to retire, and he was a nut for he would. This is the problem with him. He would spend more time polishing than he would on PM or maintenance. And there's a couple times we had to help him fix some of his trucks because he neglected the part that needed to be fixed, but he was polishing that truck. It was clean. But you've got to define where your time has got to go. Yeah, hey Daycab, how are you? Yeah, I got JC Daycab EVT in here. Is Renegade in here? Yeah, there's Renegade. Okay, glad to see Renegade in here too. Um, yeah, it's a whole different mindset when you own a lot of trucks. I mean, if I only own 5 or 6 trucks, I could probably put a little more effort into polishing them. But like I said, when you own a fleet of trucks, it's hard to get your mind wrapped around. Let's get out there and polish. Now, I ask my guys to wash them and clean them up and everything else, and we try to do that every time they come in for PMs. But we don't put the effort into polishing them. I mean, the polishing part it's a whole different world within itself. Yeah, I mean, it's nice if it's a perfect world and you can do that. It'd be great. But and and like I said, when I'm ready to sell them, I do try to polish them up. I do try to put my best foot forward. It's like everything else. It is a sales technique, but as far as productivity and everything, it's not. And I've had my guys. I was telling them the other day when we were selling one of them. I said, "Hey, get some of that grime out of that truck." I mean, it had an aluminum rim, but they weren't kind of cleaning it up good. And I had them to go back and clean it up pretty good and make it look decent. And that in itself, I think helps kind of promote the truck or whatever a little bit. Okay, who are you driving for now, day cab? And what location you're in? I don't know what location you're in. I can kind of tell you what we are down here in the South. Oh, you're working for Estes. And what are you getting paid for the Estes? Oh, you're in Jacksonville. Okay, well, you're not too far from me out of Savannah. If you're down in Jacksonville, we run to Jacksonville and we got terminals down there. We run Jacksonville, Ocala, Orlando, all down in there. Oh, you're getting 61 cents a mile. That's good pay. If you're getting 61 cents a mile, how many miles? Well, how many miles are you getting too? That's the other thing. Are you getting 2,500 to 3,000 a week? Yeah, I mean, or 61 cent a mile. Trying to think, that'd be about $1,200 if you don't do but 2,000. So that would be good. Okay, Brian. Well, you take care. Uh, oh, you're doing P&D. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's probably the difference. So on P&D, what are you getting per hour? Because your mileage is not even going to be any good on P&D. P&D would require. I I hope you're making 25 to 30 an hour, 24. Yeah. Well, okay. That let me see. Let me get my calculator out. What does that work out to be on a 40-hour week? You're making 1,000, a little over 1,000 a week there. Yeah, I mean that's some of the difference. I mean, my line haul guys, they're getting, because they're working more hours. They're working a few more hours, and they're running line haul, and they're getting paid 52 cent a mile. And they're averaging 65 to 70,000 a year. I mean, it's six one, half dozen of the other on that stuff. I mean, yeah, 61 cent would be good if you get the mileage to justify it. I mean, of course, 61 cents good. I mean, if you're not getting it 500 miles a week, it's not any good. You average about 10 hours a day. Yeah. So you're getting a little OT too then. Yeah. Well, so you're averaging, I guess your average gross pay is $1,200-$1,300 a week then. Yeah, hit the like button there, guys. Help me out. Doesn't cost a penny. It's free. And if you hadn't subscribe, of course. I think hopefully everybody's subscribed and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm in. Yeah. Well, if you're doing good, then yeah, it's all relative. If you like what you're doing, and I mean, it's hard to justify, anybody, what you can and can't do. I mean, anytime you got to look at your situation. Are you putting the type hours, the schedule is good? Uh, are you enjoying are you enjoying the work? I mean, that's a lot of what has to be considered when you're thinking about trucking. I mean, you know, some things are not for everybody. I mean, some people don't like running out 500 miles or 200 or 300 miles and coming back each day. Some people would rather, you know, load and unload freight and stay closer to home. It just depends on what you want to do. I mean, there's a wear and tear on your body, and there's a wear and tear on your mentality too. I mean, uh, running down the road can be a little more relaxing under the good conditions. Now, under stressful conditions, I mean, it can be tough. I mean, you get into high volume areas and high, you know, uh, where the traffic is terrible. I mean, it is not as good. I would sometimes just as soon be doing local myself. I'm not a big local fanatic. My dad did that for years. Of course, he tore up his knees and his back and a lot of things like that. He had some physical problems because of it, but uh, and line haul has its issues too. That's why they call it work. That's why it's got that four letter. Uh, that's why it's a four letter word. It's work. Uh, none of it is perfect. I mean, if it was all perfect, everybody would want to do it. Yeah, well, and you got to justify your seniority too. I mean, I don't know how much seniority you have. Uh, I know I used to be in that. Yeah, yeah, that may be something to do, EVT. I mean, it all depends on where we're going to be in 10 years. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics that are going to be changing within the trucking industry in a real short period of time. I mean, they're pushing technologies out there right now that kind of scary in a way. I mean, a lot of them are trying to do these autonomous trucks. I don't see them pushing people out of the marketplace too soon. Uh, the one thing I do see is probably autonomous trucks being used for the equivalent of rail usage. I mean, you know, some people say, "Oh, that's going to run you out of all the drivers out of business," and I don't think it will. I think what it will do is divert rail service, and it will help speed it up. It may hurt the rail service more than it does the regular driving, because what they should be able to do is work those things in tandem, and like a rail service, be able to move this stuff a little bit quicker, because they're all about time. I mean, you know, when you look at rail service, and FedEx uses rail service from east to west coast, you know, and that's generally what they do, or it may be even halfway. But if you look at a situation whereas they can run something autonomous and it's a straight shot uh, without a lot of intervention with other drivers, I think it can be used. But I think it will get into the rail, uh, kind of divert rail usage over into that first. Something that they don't have, as it's not as time sensitive, and something that the regularity of it would mandate it that it be done like that. But you know, it is what it is. We'll see. Uh, yeah, yeah. When you're young, and you know, driving a truck's a pretty good deal. I enjoyed it when I was young. Now, as you get older, which I am, uh, you don't like it as much. I don't. I don't care to drive a truck as much as I used to. Uh, the driving of trucks is it's a it can wear on you a little bit, and I guess that's one reason that I'm not a big. I don't like it myself. I mean, when I was 18 years old, it was a thrill to get to be able to get out and drive on the road. I mean, I was a yard switcher, and when they would call me and say, "Mike, can you run something down the road or do this or do that?" Oh man, I mean, I would have paid them almost to have done it. Uh, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, as you age, your attitudes differ, and you'll get a different attitude about things. Well, I mean, I still like crawling in a truck and checking it out. And I got in one the other day. My wife fussed at me about it. She said, "You're not supposed to be pulling up, and you're not supposed to be doing 5 pounds and all that sort of stuff." But I did it anyway. I probably shouldn't have. Well, I think autonomous trucks are going to do more. Like I said, now this is my opinion, and you know, you can take it to the bank or not. I think, and where I see the autonomous trucks, like I said, they already use uh, rail service, and the rail service is a slower service. And I would venture to say, because they're always trying to speed up one avenue of their freight, that I would say whatever they're diverting over to rail, they'll probably put into autonomous first, because for one thing, it won't be as the time constraint won't be as tough on that. I mean, they can fuss at a driver about not getting his, you know, loads in and out right. It's going to be hard to fuss at an autonomous truck, especially when it. I just don't. I didn't bring my billfold. I ran out. I ran out here without my billfold, so I'm illegal driving back and forth home. Um, but there's a lot of aspects of that are going to have to be resolved first before you're going to see much of that on the road. But there's a change in the times. I mean, I've seen the trucking industry change dramatically in the 50 years that I've been in it. I mean, I started in the late 60s, and here it is 2020 now, and so y'all can imagine what I've seen change. And prior to that, my dad was in it. He was in it 38 years prior to that too. Well, not we kind of overlapped. Uh, my dad was in there 38 years. He started in the 40s. I started in the 60s. My dad started in the 40s in the trucking industry, right after he got out of the military. So, we've been in the trucking. We've been a trucking family since the 40s. So we know a little bit about it anyway. Yeah, we. I don't know if y'all talking green stuff being John Deere. I don't know what. I Yeah, yeah, John Deere. I tell you, I was noticing the thing the other day. There's a lot of legislation coming out so that people can actually work on their own tractors. I guess Ag Tech knows a whole lot about that because these dealerships have had a lot of this locked down, so you couldn't go in and do anything for your tractor. And I watch a couple of farming channels myself. I enjoy Millennial Farmer and uh, Welker Farms, and some guy, some corn guy too, out in Idaho, I believe, Iowa. I believe it's Iowa. He's doing some stuff, but it's interesting on equipment what all these people have to come up with and what all they have to sort of invent themselves. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Yeah. Yeah. I hope everybody saw my title. I've already voted for this year. So I hope everybody gets out and I would suggest early voting if it's convenient for you, because it was real convenient for me. Our polling places weren't that busy. And I picked the time of the day. My wife and we just walked straight in, and no lines whatsoever. And there's probably 15 or 20 people in there voting, and we voted, and I wasn't there as quick as I could mark my X on what I needed to do. I was out of there. Probably was quicker this time than it was last time when I went on the regular voting day. Yeah, right to repair. That's what I was trying to talk about with the EBT. Um, it's it's getting tough with this because so many of these are claiming proprietary software, and they don't want you to touch anything within their software, modified or even anything, and it makes the technician, the outside technician's job, really tough, and it kind of gives an underground uh, effort. I mean, there's always going to be people. If you say, well, no, you can't get into it, there's going to be somebody that gets into it, and that's going to create a sort of a underground technology world, and it already has. I mean, most things you can do that already. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are locking things down, and we even see it here in the parts world too. I mean, there's certain things that I cannot get because it's just the dealer's the only place that can sell it. And people come in, well, why can't you sell it? Well, it's not released. I mean, they're still holding on to the patents, and they're still holding on to uh, certain aspects that makes it profitable for them. Yeah, I mean, just about every manufacturer uh, is sort of holding on to certain technologies that they don't want you to get a hold of. They don't want you to. They don't want you to be able to jump in there and you know, I guess cut the cream off the top of it because you think about it. I mean, it's expensive. You go into a dealer. I mean, most of these dealerships they're going to charge you $300 just to plug the computer up to your system, and that in itself is a rip. I mean, it takes no effort whatsoever to plug in that computer, but they're going to get their money back real quick. Yeah, yeah. I got somebody calling to. I hope I don't know who that is. And somebody thinks I'm open this morning, but um, yeah, there's a lot of them that won't let you into their program. I mean, I could understand some of it, but some of it I can't. Well, another I don't know. I don't know who all locks down everything. I got a code reader the other day for diesels that I'm that I've got for my BMW, and BMW is pretty proprietary too. Yeah, yeah. The day of just getting a Chilton's manual, looking up things and fixing it is long gone because everything's diagnostic now. I mean, I remember working here when this was a Ford dealership, and I worked parts and sales in a lot of different areas in here. And the only thing we had back then, we'd have the little module that, and it basically it didn't do that much on the Ford vehicles. I mean, they would just say, the module's bad, replace it, and they'd put another module on it and go. It's plug and play. But nowadays, I mean, you know, your the brain, the electronic control module, ECM or whatever, uh, is the essential thing that has to be flashed or has to be read and changes all the parameters within the motor. I mean, you can change horsepower. I know I had an N14. We changed it from 315 horsepower up to almost 500 just through computer software. Didn't have to change any injectors or anything. It had it was basically they derate some of these. They use the same technology, they used to, and the block was the same. The injectors were the same. Everything was exactly the same, and they may have just a few little things they had to change, but it was so minute because I seriously, I mean, I remember taking that particular truck and changing it from 300 horsepower, I believe it was, all the way up to 500 something horsepower. It spun the wheels when we got it out of there. It was something. Yeah. Yeah. Well, all the modules have to be programmed. Either they come with the original programming or they can be flashed. That's what they call flashing, changing the EEPROM. And the EEPROM is electronic programming RAM and everything in it. And then they can change that and just do all kind of things with it. I mean, you've got to be careful. I mean, I changed the torque on one. I was able to get around a Caterpillar and we were able to change the torque, and it went from being a sluggish cat to something that would pull down a mountain. It was something. Well, hi, Gamer Tech. But Yeah, most people, with the Chilton manuals, you don't see them used much. That's the thing. And technology being the fact that you can type in specific things that you want and pull it up. I mean, that's the way we do out here. I mean, we used to carry books and books and books of all these parts, and I would look and there'd be just a handful of books that was even being used. So I got rid of 90% of the books that we used to have because they weren't being used. They weren't utilized. Excuse me. Well, I like a Cummins N14. I'm not a big fan of M11. I got an M11 right now. I'll let you fix. I got a head gasket problem on an M11 right now. Uh, I'm not. I mean, they're good little engines. They're not strong. M11s. They do good for local trucks. They're not much for line haul trucks. I mean, they don't. When you hit a hill and you're driving an M11, you got 80,000 pounds behind you. You'll get down on the low side and everybody will cuss you because you can't go up the road very fast. You're blocking traffic. Yeah, I like the old cats, C15 and what was it, 3206, 3208. I can't remember which one it was. Uh, I like the old cats and the N14s. Those are some strong engines there. I still have a few. I still have a few C15s, and of course I like the older model 60s too, 60 series Detroit. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, you're not too far away, EVT. You're just down in Atlanta. I got trucks that go in there. I'll just let you ride back with one of my trucks. I got one that goes down there in the daytime, one goes down there in the nighttime. So I can get you either way. Yeah. Now I don't know about the 3116. I'm not. I know the 3206 and 3208, I believe, they're pretty good engines. I'm pretty sure it has that 3206 that preceded the uh, C15. I think that's the one. But those are good engines. A C15, if you get a C15 in something that was in the 90s, I mean, that's a stout engine. And once they started putting all the emissions, of course, Cat kind of got out of it because of that. They didn't want to mess with all the emission stuff, and they got out of putting stuff in fleet trucks. Yeah, yeah. Most things I see are inline six. I don't. I've never been a big proponent of the V8 diesels. The inline six diesels, I don't know, just seem to be stronger and more reliable than the V8 diesels. I mean, the uh, the Detroit, I don't even know the V8 Detroit, the 318s, and I can't remember the other ones. I never was a big fan of them, especially the 318. 318. We used to have a lot of those at Carolina Freight. Now they sounded like they were hot rods. I mean, oh man, you'd get on them on the yard, and I'd go, man, I can't wait to drive one of these on the road. Well, I drove one on the road for the first time in the early 70s, and I'm going, Lord have mercy. I said, it just loses power or something terrible because, I mean, it sounded great. It sounded, it had that V8 sound. It sounded good, but it hit a hill and it was, well, it was all she could do to get it up a hill. But then the Caterpillars at the time, I mean, they would hit a hill and it would just hum right up over a hill. So I learned real quick that I like those cats with more torque than I did that V8 318 that sounded like it was doing something. Yeah, 8V92. That's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Like I said, it was the old saying with the old Detroits like that. It was like fill it up with oil and check your fuel, because you might have to have an oil truck to go with you. I mean, I know when we were sending them out in a fleet, and these were fairly new trucks, they said, be sure to make sure it's got a couple of gallons of oil. I mean, these drivers that drive it, and they'd have to put oil in it everywhere they stopped. Yeah, the 34. Yeah, it's a 6-cylinder inline. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, 3408, 3406. Those are inline. Those are inline 6-cylinders, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a lot of people use those old Detroits for generators and everything like that. I mean, I enjoyed the sound of those engines, but I never was keen on the performance. Is what I'm looking at. When when you actually have to work on them and pay for them, I mean, they weren't expensive to overhaul, but they were expensive in the fact that you had to do it a lot, and there was a lot more maintenance on those motors and everything. It seemed like. So I was not a big proponent of those engines per se. Of course, I never owned that many. I don't know. Did I ever own a 318? My brother did. He had a 318. But I don't think I've ever owned a 318 or any other Detroit other than the 60 series. Now I like the 60 series. Now of course the 60 series engine was designed off of Caterpillar. I think I may have told you that a good friend of mine is actually one of the head engineers that was with Penske that designed the 60 series motor, and they took the design. He had worked at Caterpillar prior to coming to Detroit, and they took a lot of things from Caterpillar in that design and moved it over into the 60 series Detroit, and it changed Detroit's Detroit. Well, they started going up after that 60 series, because everybody wanted them then, because they found a real stout engine and reliable. That's the thing, reliable. And that's when the 60 series Detroit came out. I'm wanting to say this is where I need to get Randy in here, because Randy could probably. I need to get him on here as an interview one time. His name's Randy Allran. He's from my hometown of Cherryville. He went on and I think he studied at NC State, maybe MIT. He was a real smart engineer. Went on to work, started with Caterpillar, and then Roger Penske hired him away from Caterpillar, and he went into there in the 80s, and then he retired from Penske and Detroit. But I need to get him on here one time and explain that, because he was one of the chief engineers of Detroit that helped design that engine back in the 80s. So I think he would be an interesting guest. If I might just have to get him on and just interview him one time. He's a great guy. I enjoy Randy. He's very, very smart guy. And so I need to get a hold of him, and I think it would make an interesting show if I could do that. It's good to be able to think of people like that. And, there's people of different walks of life out there all the time that you may or may not realize that they've accomplished a good bit of stuff. Now, Randy, like I said, I'm bragging on him because I know him, but he was a VP for Penske, for Roger Penske. Roger Penske and him are good friends. So it shows you how tight they were. I mean, I would imagine Randy could call up Roger at any time he wanted to, and talk to him. Something that I can't do. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things like that. I mean, good ideas are copied usually. I mean, you go all the way back to uh, early days uh, of all the automobile business and the truck business and everything else. Somebody copied somebody else's idea. Somebody got out there, started something, something broke, made a mistake, whatever, and then somebody always want, like I say, they always want to make a better mousetrap, and that's what a lot of industries are all about. And this is why trade secrets and software, and we were talking about the software a while ago, and how that came about, and how long he worked with Cat in Detroit, and because I don't know 100% of his background. I know enough, like everybody else, to be dangerous, as they say. But I might have to check and see what we can do with that. Well, guys, I am about tuckered out. Uh, I get a little more tuckered out quicker, so I'm gonna probably just jump off here right now and see what we can come up with on another day. But for right now, my voice is getting a little tired. Let's get this election turned around in the right way, if possible. I hope everybody can do something like that. Yep, y'all have a good day, and I'll see y'all around. See you guys.